Now, we were oversubscribed with people wanting to appear on this discussion because it's about Sergio Perez's antics at the Singapore Grand Prix. Now, most of the coverage after the event was actually about the collision with Esteban Ocon at the start, where they sort of banged wheels and Ocon ends up in the wall out of the race and costs Force India quite a lot of points. So there was focus on that because obviously they've got history there. But for me, the infuriating incident, and the one that we're going to talk about now particularly, is the clash with Sergey Sirotkin, where Perez got stuck behind Sirotkin, got furious that the Williams was balking him, or basically racing him as far as I could tell. Complains to Charlie Whiting that he's supposed to get him out of the way. Charlie had none of that. And eventually they end up side by side and Perez drives into him. So I've got Scott Mitchell and Kevin Turner here to discuss this one. Guys, Perez got a drive-through penalty when he was already down the back of the field for this. What do we make of the incident, and was the punishment fair? What do you think, Kev?
I think it was a ridiculous piece of driving and he should have had a worse penalty. And I thought the same when Vettel drove into Hamilton behind the safety car last year in Baku. I think
so the comparison there is a kind of the deliberate...
It's the intent, isn't it? Yeah. But this is at racing speed, so you could argue that it's worse. So I think he's got off very lightly, really, with that penalty.
I kind of... When you look at the different angles of it, so the forward angle where you see the cars coming towards you, the Sirotkin incident, it just looks flat out like Perez, just as soon as he knows he's alongside but past, just moves over into him, and it looks really malicious and deliberate. And then when you look from the back, it looks more like a stupid misjudgment and just a little bit of frustration turning into that stupidity. Both incidents for me, there's an element of intent. Ocon especially, because there's a little bit where you can see him. He says, "Oh, they're sorry, there was no room, guys." But then you actually see the video, and he straightens the steering wheel. So if you keep it like that, there's room, and your teammate doesn't.
Well, he changed his story, didn't he, to say, "Oh, I didn't know he was there. I just felt a bump."
Yeah, which is just stupid, and when you just come out through that tight first sequence of corners, and you don't know that someone's on your outside there, that is negligent beyond belief for an F1 driver at the sharp end of the grid. And then with the Sirotkin thing, I'm not 100% convinced it was deliberate in the same way as the Vettel using his car as a weapon on Hamilton situation, where that's flat out. I think that was just frustration turning into stupidity, borderline on, I'm going to do this regardless of whether it results in contact. I really don't know. I'm a bit torn. I'm not quite as flat out on it as...
I think you're being relatively generous there. And Perez, obviously, his excuse afterwards was he realised that the best way to get himself out of trouble, or to get himself out of more trouble, was to just accept his punishment and say it was a misjudgment. He's saying, "I thought I was clear, I misjudged it when I moved across." I think that's absolute rubbish. I think he knew exactly what he was doing. He was fed up. He'd been frustrated for a long time behind the Williams, and he just decided, right, I'm going to drive across you. And I think that's completely unacceptable. And I think a driver, that is the sort of thing that should get you a race ban. I have no problem with drivers taking risks. Someone like Max Verstappen drives on the edge but tries to race people hard. Sometimes he makes mistakes and he should be punished for those mistakes. This wasn't a mistake. It was a decision made in the heat of the moment, granted, but still a deliberate action to drive into someone else. And as you said, Kev, at racing speed, I think it's completely unacceptable.
It's a red mist moment, isn't it? And you've got to cut that out.
By the time you're a Formula One driver, you should be better than that. Yeah. We may see this sort of thing in karting or the junior ranks, because those are young guys or girls who need to get it out of their system. But Sergio Perez has been a Formula One driver for a very long time. And, we're talking about the fact that Sergio's probably going to keep his drive next year, and it's Ocon who's going to be without a drive. Arguably, there's a performance like this, incidents that have cost the points for the team. Should Force India rethink his future, perhaps?
Well, I agree with you that he shouldn't be racing in Russia, but not because I think he should get banned from the FIA for it. I think that 3 points on his licence is fair, but that's because obviously I don't share the opinion that it was a deliberate move. I think it was a move that didn't care if he caused contact, but the intent wasn't quite there. But the reason I don't think he should be in Russia is because the team needs to drop him. They should drop him for one race, because while the Sirotkin thing is stupid and it's dangerous and it shows a massive negative set of attributes for a Formula One driver, for me, the Ocon thing at the beginning is more costly, because Force India, or Point Racing, former Force India Formula One team, is...
Jordan.
They're in this massive fight to make up as much ground in the Constructors' Championship as possible. And I don't care that Lawrence Stroll and his wealthy friends are now behind that team. They need all the money they can get, and Constructors' Championship points are crucial. And what that's done is it's stopped them getting a really valuable double points finish. It promoted Renault into a double points finish. It gave McLaren and Fernando Alonso 7th. And it means that now Force India are now less likely to do any better than 6th or 7th in the Constructors' Championship. They're now no further clear of Toro Rosso, so they're more at risk of being overhauled by some kind of fluke weekend for Toro Rosso. It's another example of Perez and Ocon clashing in a really costly situation that Perez is primarily responsible for. And you talk about the fact that Ocon might lose his drive next year. Ocon is the guy that is more reliable in those situations. He's the better long-term bet. So I don't understand why you don't bench Perez for Russia, because they threatened this last year. They said, if you're going to do this, you can't keep racing with one another.
Well, they've just been banned from racing each other again.
Exactly.
The shackles had been released for a while after everything that happened last year, and now they're back on.
And Perez clearly can't be trusted in that situation. So bench him for one race. Then if you really want to do that, then you move Stroll in, because that's what they've been trying to do anyway. So there's your opportunity to get Stroll in the Force India, whether it's for one race or for the rest of the season, whatever they want to do. That moves Stroll out of Williams, so Williams can either put Robert Kubica in there for one race or have someone buy out Kubica's contract to take over that reserve driver slot, do that for one race, and then if it all shakes out the way that Stroll's lot wants, then Perez can come back in for the final few races and Ocon can go to Williams for the end because Stroll will be out there. So there's a way for them to piece this puzzle together actually to get whatever end result they want. But what I think it should be is that Perez, this is the best example, the best evidence you could get, that Perez shouldn't be in that car next year and Ocon should.